What do it do, YouTube? It is your boy CJ back at it like a bad habit. If you want something, go grab it. And today, if there is a man that personifies that quote, it is this man right here, Jaysin Static. Welcome back to the channel, my man. How are you?
What's up, everybody? Jaysin Static coming back again with another episode. Oh, wait a minute. I thought this was my show. My bad. What's up, CJ? How you doing, brother? How you doing,
Hey, man, I'm doing good.
Long time.
I
It's
am.
been, what, 2 years now?
Yeah, it's been a while, huh?
Yeah, it's been a good minute.
Yeah. Has it been 2 years, really?
Something like that. I think so. Maybe a year.
July 20th, 2023 was the last time we did a video together. So a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, a little over a year.
mm-hmm.
A little over a year.
Anyway, like I said, I'm CJ. He is Jaysin. We are here today to talk about any topics that pop into our brains. And Jaysin, before we start, I understand, sir, you are running a fight club of some sort, or an academy. Please tell the people about that.
Well, I mean, as you know, CJ, a lot of my expertise is centered around professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I started pro wrestling in 2007. I started training. In 2008, I had my first match. And I retired right around 2013, 2014. You know, I was racking up injuries and shit like that. And I just got hurt too much.
Mm-hmm.
And living fast and loose. So I took a long time away. And over the last 2 years, here recently, over the last 2 years or so, a couple of young guys in the game that wanted to get into the game got a hold of me, and they're like, "Hey, would you train us to be professional wrestlers?" And I was just like, "Well, it's not something that I, planned for, but if you guys got a ring and you guys got a place to do it, let's see how it goes." And that's been a lot of problems and a lot of issues, on the business side of that stuff. But for the last 2 years or so now, I've been training pro wrestlers, and we eventually phased it into what you see on the screen right now, the tag right there, Fight Club Wrestling Academy. Fight Club Wrestling Academy is essentially a pro wrestling school where you can learn not only how to become a professional wrestler, a referee, a commentator, and stuff like that, but you can also learn kind of like the history of professional wrestling, the stuff that most pro wrestling schools don't talk to you about. A lot of pro wrestling schools, they just talk to you about the basics of learning how to bump and roll and psychology and stuff like that, but they don't really show a whole lot else.
Yeah.
At least I don't know what a lot of schools here lately, over the last decade or so are like, but back in my time, whenever I started in the early 2000s, not a lot of schools were talking shit like that. They would just kind of yell at you and beat you up.
See, most people don't really learn that way, getting screamed and yelled at. A lot of people don't. It's weird.
Yeah.
Am I yelling? I'm
no,
yelling,
man, you're
Am
good.
I? Okay.
No, you're good, man.
These are like brand new earphones. They're like that. It's like the soundproof ones, kind of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I try to not yell. So if I'm yelling,
nah, man, you're good. You're good.
It's
it's good enough for my old ears. So,
yeah, we will put a link down in the description for your YouTube channel at the end of the video.
I actually got two.
But you got two links, so we'll put all your links down below, all that good stuff. And yeah, I was going to ask a question. Are you? Well, before we begin, let me just say, Pepsi, do us a favor, please. Sponsor your favorite YouTube channel. We are enjoying your product.
I don't know if you'd want to be sponsored by Pepsi. I mean, they got a lot of money and everything like that, but soda's not very good for you, CJ.
It's not. But
It makes you fat. Trust me. I know. As a guy who's fat, soda doesn't do good for you.
let me tell you, when I was a kid, for a bunch of my life, I'm gonna tell probably 5 years ago, I was the skinniest kid,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, and I'm 31, so I mean, into my 20s, I was skinny
Right.
as shit. Barely broke 100 pounds most of my life. I'm 31, and I'm at 145 pounds.
Okay.
So I don't think I got to worry about getting fat, but
Yeah, I'm like 260 right now, I think.
okay,
But
okay,
I'm a small dude. Like I'm short. I'm short as fuck. But I'm
yeah.
like 260, and
I
that's
think
not
I'm
good.
like I'm probably 6 foot, 6'1" around there. I think
Yeah.
6'1".
Okay.
Um, so let's talk about reaction channels first.
Okay. Yeah.
Who are some of the reaction channels that you enjoy? I know for me, I have had the pleasure of interviewing several reaction channels,
Okay.
including Gatsby, Vibe Reactions, Bakery Music, and recently, as in the last video I did
Wayne
before
TV.
this one, Dwayne TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You told me about that. Yeah.
yeah, I was really excited to do that. Shout out to everybody on that did those interviews. They're all
Yeah. Yeah.
dope people. Um, and I'm just wondering, who are some of the people you follow?
Um. If I'm being super honest, uh, several years ago, I used to watch a ton of reaction channels, like tons of.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, I don't really watch a whole lot of reaction channels. Um, like I used to watch when I used to watch a lot of reaction channels, I'd watch every single video all the time. But
Mm.
now that I'm kind of like ramping up what I do, because I quit my full time job that I had, and now I'm strictly just doing the wrestling thing. I don't really have a whole
Mm-hmm.
lot of time to sit down and watch a lot of things, and when I do, it's wrestling based.
Yeah.
But when I do watch something nowadays, um, I only watch things if I see artists that I really enjoy listening to. So if I see a YouTube channel pop up,
Like
that
us.
yeah, if I end up seeing a YouTube channel that listens to something like Kasky or Yellow Wolf, or something like that, I'll listen to them. Or some kind of like metal band or something like that I might listen to. So like a lot of the people that I listen to here lately is I still listen to Vibe here and there,
Right.
and then I listen to Knox here and
Yeah.
there, and those are probably really the only two. Oh, and then Black Pegasus. I still listen to
Oh,
him every once in a blue moon. I'm still sub to a lot of reaction channels, but I don't have the time to. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to watch a whole lot of them.
right.
And then whenever you end up sending me a link, you used to send me links all the time and remind me, but you don't send me links anymore when you post stuff. So
Hmm.
what a
I'm
person
gonna
who
do
has
that.
what a person who has a YouTube channel with thousands of you know channels that I'm sub to. Sometimes channels get pushed down the thing a little bit, so I don't see them. So sometimes I
Uh,
don't see a lot of your stuff. So I always tell guys, especially guys that I'm working with in the wrestling industry, if you guys have a YouTube channel, send me the direct link. Send it to me in a DM
mhm.
because that's the 9 times out of 10, especially with channels that are small. Those are the only ways that I'm going to be able to see you.
So I kind of owe the people here on our channel a little bit of an explanation.
Okay.
So um, here's what happened. I did do reaction to Eminem's latest album, The Death of Slim Shady. We'll get your opinion on that in a minute. I don't know if you've heard it or not, but
Mm-mm. Nope.
okay.
Haven't heard it, but
Uh,
I'll talk about it.
okay. I did a reaction to that album. Unfortunately, for about the first 30 to 45 minutes, completely unbeknownst to me, the microphone, I didn't even see it, wasn't even on.
Mm.
And then I went and I played the audio back. There was no audio. So you couldn't hear the music, you couldn't hear me talking, and that just went down by the wayside. It was just a bad stream. So I ended up cutting that, and then I thought to myself, I'll just do reaction videos. I'll just do the songs separately.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, life kind of got in the way, things
Right.
happen, and I haven't been able to sit down and record the reactions. But I do plan to do that. Um, I've heard the whole album, but I'll listen to it again because with Eminem's music, you really have to listen to it multiple times anyway, just
Mm-hmm.
to get everything. Uh, so I'll talk about a couple of the songs. There's one song um, called "Guilty Conscience 2."
Mm-hmm.
And he says he basically goes at. I mean, nobody is safe on this album. Let's get that straight. Nobody.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve, he got insulted. Um, there was like a whole song called "Brand New Dance," and like the chorus was "Due to Christopher Reeves."
Right.
And yeah, and then like in the beat, instead of like a drum percussion or whatever, you heard like horse hooves, and then you can
Ah.
hear a horse neighing in the background. It was funny, but at the same time, it's like, why are you going at Christopher Reeve? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Guy's been dead like 10 years, 12
yeah,
years.
20 years, I
Probably
think.
20 maybe. He's been dead
Yeah,
a long time.
yeah. It's like what? But then, and then in Guilty Conscience 2, it's Slim Shady arguing with himself. Hang
Mm-hmm.
on a second. Frank will be here in about 5 minutes, he says.
Okay, cool.
But in Guilty Conscience 2, the whole album concept is basically Eminem killing off Slim Shady. That's the concept of the album, right?
Right.
And I've actually heard some people say that the way to listen to this album is from the last song to the first. So
Okay.
I did that, and it just sounded weird. It was like that doesn't seem right.
Okay.
Um, but in Guilty Conscience 2, he's arguing with himself, and Eminem's like, "Yeah, but you still picking on Christopher Reeve. Why you?" Slim Shady goes, "Yeah, you made that song for Encore. Why'd you take it off?" And Eminem says, "Well, because he died." And then Slim says, "Well, that motherfucker did it just to ruin your album." I mean, it's just it's a wild album. There's a lot of wild lines.
Right.
In like one song he talks about Diddy beating up Cassie
Mm-hmm.
without mentioning Cassie.
Right.
I'll tell you one of my favorite lines of the whole album is he does like a whole essay thing, like "Do not test me like an essay,"
Mm-hmm.
because all my homies out west essays or whatever. And then he
Right.
goes, "I'm like a RAPER SA," like, I'm not going to say the word on YouTube just to be safe, but assault of a certain degree.
Yeah.
Uh, and then he goes, "Wait, I'm like a RAPER," and then he goes, "He didn't leave out a P. He didn't spell rapper and leave out a P, did he?" And
Right.
then the next line, he goes, "Yep." And then the next line is he goes, he says like R.I.P. to Pac and Biggie. You also be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says like, "I'm gonna quit talking because otherwise they'll be like Keefy D, get him." And it's
Right.
just like, okay, it's a wild album. If you get the chance to listen to it, please do. It's a
Mm-hmm.
great album. I didn't like that he made fun of the deaf people thing. That was a little far, but
Okay.
at the same time, it's not like they're ever going to hear it. So,
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
I mean, I'm one of those people in this day and age. I'll never say that Eminem is not a dope ass rapper. Probably even the GOAT. But he's just not for me anymore.
yeah, it's too. He's
You know
too.
what I mean? I think it for me in particular, I think what it is, it's just nowadays, like and I'm one of the guys that came up on like the hibbity dibbity stuff, like the fast rap and stuff.
Yeah.
So I love that style, but nowadays I think it's just him doing it just to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
And to flex his muscles, and that's cool. But it just doesn't excite me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
maybe it's because I'm older. I'm 42. I guess I'm still a guy. Like I love Tech Nine. Tech
Yes, I love Tech
Tech
Nine
Tech
also.
Tech Nine does that super fast flow, but like he talks about stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With him, he just goes 90 to nothing, and it's not really saying a whole lot anymore. Like I liked him back in the day whenever he was talking his shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking about his life, talking about himself. And then occasionally he might weave into a lane where, he's trash talking, shit like that. But nowadays, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I do need to listen to him a little bit more. But I like guys nowadays, especially in the hip hop
With a
lane,
message.
that have a message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And one of the songs on this album is called "Temporary." That is
Okay.
a very emotional song, especially if you have a daughter.
Right.
Which I don't know if you have kids or not, but
Yeah.
so "Temporary"
I
is
mean,
like,
I got kids, but they're wrestlers.
yeah,
I gotta treat them like kids
yeah.
sometimes.
Temporary is basically like a song for his
Mhm.
daughter Haley for when he
Okay.
dies. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. But basically, it's him singing like straighten up, little soldier, like that kind of thing.
Right.
Like I
My
know
toy
you're
soldier.
sad. Don't cry. Don't mourn me. Celebrate, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And just he had Skylar Gray on the hook. I don't know if you know who she is,
yeah.
but
I know Skyler. Yeah.
she's um she's on the hook.
Okay.
And oh god, my eyes are starting to water talking
What
about it.
what
Yo,
wasn't she on Toy Soldiers?
was she? I
I know
don't
I
know if she
know I know
was.
he's had Skylar Gray on a handful of songs over the
I
years.
know that Jelly Roll has. Yeah, I know Jelly Roll has a song with him on his album also.
Yeah. Yeah. I I don't like I said I didn't listen to the album because him just doesn't really vibe. I don't vibe with him anymore. He's
Hmm.
still a dope ass rapper. I'll never be one of those dudes. Like like oh Eminem sucks type shit. Like that's corny. Like
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that like I can say Eminem is probably he's not in my top 10. He's not in my top 5 and he's not in my top 10. But I can admit that he is probably one of the greatest and dopest rappers to ever touch a mic. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean he's my goat.
Right. For me, he's in my top three with Biggie and Tupac.
Okay.
But those are my top three: Biggie, Tupac, and Eminem.
Okay.
Um, and then I would probably put Ice Cube and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think after the recent stuff, which we could talk about as well, I gotta put Kendrick Lamar in my top five.
Okay.
I mean,
You
just
see, now you're bringing up some. I like Kendrick. I listen
mhm.
to Kendrick a lot. So Kendrick is the type of guy like I will listen to Kendrick. I will put Kendrick over Eminem
Yeah.
because I vibe with Kendrick more. Just like I will put Yellow Wolf over Eminem
Mm.
because I vibe with what Yellow Wolf says more.
I think Eminem's trying to be just edgy lately, and it's just not the same because he's
Yeah.
50 plus years old, and it's
Well,
like you gotta,
the edgy the edgy for the sake of being edgy is kind of corny.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, and it's corny not just when he does it, but it's corny when anybody does it.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's just like okay, like you know, and I'm one of those guys. I grew up in the trolling age. Like if you've known me for a long fucking time, how often
Yes.
if you remember shit from like 5-6 years ago, how often would you see me on social media just trolling the shit out of people?
A
All the time,
bunch.
every
A
single
lot.
day, all day
Did
long.
you? I remember. Were you in E-Feds with me? Is that how we met?
Probably, yeah. I always watched them, but I never
Uh,
actually participated in them. But I watched them.
yeah. You were in the group. You were in the groups, but yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I was always in. I
yeah.
was always
So
in the
did you?
EFED groups, but I never paid attention. Like I never like actually participated. I was just one of the guys that
Right.
watched it in the background. And then when people would hit me up
Uh
because they knew I was a wrestler, they'd be like, "Hey, do you think this is good?" And I'll be like, "No, that's dog shit.
huh.
Do it over." Because I would
Glad.
troll people and it would get people pissed off at me.
I'm glad I never sent you a video and asked. um,
Yeah.
you know, here's the thing, and I'm not. I've talked about this on the channel a lot. When I was in E-Feds, let's be real, I wasn't the best version of myself.
Right.
Uh, and E-Feds took a huge toll on my mental health. It did.
Mhm.
And when you get told constantly, you're a loser, you're a loser, you're a loser, that hits you. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes,
the
it
only
does. Yeah.
constructive criticism from people would be, just leave. Like, just don't do this anymore. Like, this is not for you.
Mhm.
That's not constructive criticism. You're telling me to quit, and I'm not a quitter. And you telling me to quit makes me want to do this even more. So I do it
Right.
even more, and I'm still terrible because I'm not getting that helpful advice. So
Right.
it's like,
Yeah. And that's
and
that.
um,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
No, go ahead.
finish what you're saying. Finish what you were saying. I'll remember it.
I was just gonna, I was just gonna say, I was gonna say, you know, I wasn't my best version because of that, and
Right.
I had my moments, where I had my big moments. I got to remember. I remember when I won a world title for the first time in CPW, I think it was, and
Uh-huh.
everybody tried telling me it was handed to you, and I'm like, okay, but what was handed to me? Like, I don't get anything physical from this, so,
Right. Right.
but like, and even you know, even if it was handed to me, who cares? Like, I still won. Like, I
Right.
gave my best performance,
Right.
and whether it was handed to me or not, whether I earned it, I got it, and you didn't.
Mhm.
Not you personally, not you, Jason.
Are you trying to challenge me,
But
CJ?
anyway,
You trying to challenge me to a promo battle? You're not gonna
hold on,
win,
hold on, hold on,
CJ.
hold
You
on,
better
hold
sit
on,
your ass down. I'm gonna beat you up and down this block,
brother,
son. Yeah.
brother,
Sorry.
brother. You do not want to smoke. You do not want to smoke.
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. I am a little older, so you might be able to beat me.
You know what? I'm gonna wear. I'm
You,
gonna
you
wear
got
this
you got
down to the
about
rest of the
11 years.
stream
I got about
because
11 years on you, man.
uh, you're in your 40s.
Yeah, I'm 42.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
I'm
I'm
42.
not really gonna hold this for the whole stream,
So,
but
when you were talking about the EFED stuff,
uh-huh.
what was it that you were hoping to get out of it, along the lines of, the you said that you were getting criticized, but you weren't getting constructive criticism with it.
I was just looking for, stuff like this is what I would do if I was your character. This is how I would approach this. This is
Yeah,
how I would do that. This is the word I would use.
right.
Stuff like that.
Was
Uh, it,
Now, I didn't really get into the whole big old politics of it. I kind of just watched it from afar. You know, like I didn't watch every single promo from every single person. But I do remember seeing people's promos and stuff like that. So was there not any guys in behind the scenes that would actually be like, hey, maybe try doing this or anything like that? Was it just a bunch of guys just shitting on each other?
So the big thing about these e-feds is there was about 5 or 6 e-feds with the same people.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And people were friends with people, and people who and like some people just refereed, and the referees were friends with the with the wrestlers, and they would referee their friends' matches, stuff like that. I'm not trying to say anything messy here, but
Yeah.
just in general, like bias and nepotism was a thing.
Gotcha.
And actually, the funniest thing, I remember one time I did a promo at CJ Payne. I was going up against a guy named Reckless. Shout out to Reckless. That dude was awesome. I love Reckless. And he was great. Like when he did his promos, he got into character. I mean, he had the face paint, painted his hair. He had the whole nine, the edits. I mean, that guy really took time into his character, right? A lot of people, they just get in the camera and they just cut the promo.
Yeah.
He actually worked, right? And so one day I did the promo against him, and it was terrible, right? It was so horrible that the guy was like, that the owner of the E-Fed, he was like, Christian, I'm gonna give you a chance. Redo the promo. Redo it. Don't do it as CJ Payne. Try something different. Go a little bit darker. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, go a little bit darker. So what do? I turned off all the lights in my room. The only light that I had was from my TV over there, and I had YouTube on, and I had strobe lights going, right? Or no, that was before, because it was the very first one. So I only had the light from the TV on, right? And I didn't even have music going at that point. And I had like a hood covering my face.
Okay.
And I got in a character. I'm like, oh, NJPW, and I'm coming to get you, like that kind of thing. I had the voice going. I upload that promo. My God, everybody loved it.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, this is a winner. So how do I elevate this? How do I don't think I had the name Geppetto yet. I just go, oh, hippie child, hear my bopping, and tonight I'm going to hurt you, like that kind of thing.
Right.
And so then I'm like, how do I elevate this? So then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play some creepy ass music in the background. I'm going to have strobe lights going off on YouTube. So next time you see that, I wish I had a promo to show you because it's really cool. So I did that and I taught, and it was chef's kiss. It was awesome.
Yeah. Do you have any of these old? Do you have any of those old promos?
I don't. I don't. I actually see if I could find one on Facebook. Christian Zion promo. Let's see. I don't think I have any of these promos. I don't have one from Geppetto, but I'm seeing some of these.
Right.
All right, here we go. I'll show you. I'll share a few. So this is one of them. I'm gonna tell you now, Jay. I already know this is bad. So before you say anything, but here you go.
Ladies and gentlemen,
if you do not know who I am, allow me to introduce myself. My name is CJ Payne, and some people call me the iconic one. Now tonight, once again, Jimmy Jackal or Jack Sinister, whatever the fuck you go by here in GCW, it don't matter to me. I'm gonna bury your ass 6 feet underground yet again. Because no matter how many times I beat you, you cry, oh, CJ Payne beat me because I'm not as good as he is. You'll never be as good as me, kid. It's a fact you have to come to terms with. You have to realize no matter how good you think you are, I am simply better than you. I have beaten you every single time that we have fought. And what have you done when I beat you? You created excuses. Oh, management fucked me over. Oh, you were handed that win. You sucked off management. Let me tell you something right here, right now. I don't suck off anybody. Every victory that I get, I earn. I bust my ass. Day in, day out. Night in, night out. If I were to suck management's dick, guess what? I'd be world champ. Do you see me with the championship belt? No? Exactly. Because I'm going to earn that. I'm going to earn it by busting my ass. I'm not going to cry every single time I lose and create excuses for why I lost. You want to know why you lost? Because I was the better man. And that's a concept you can't come to accept. And that is your downfall. And that's why tonight you are going to go down in defeat to me. Because no matter what you do, no matter how hard you hit me, I'm going to hit you harder. I'm going to prove.
Okay. Go back to about 1 minute and 50 seconds. Okay.
And that's a concept you can't come to accept. And that is your downfall. And that's why tonight you are going to go down in defeat to me. Because no matter what you do, no matter how hard you hit me, I'm going to hit you harder. I'm going to prove yet again that the superstar, that the golden one, that the iconic one is better in every single way than you will ever be. You will never be on my level, pal. It's a fact of life you're just going to have to accept. And since you can't seem to accept it, I'm going to beat it into you. And after tonight, after I beat you once more, I want nothing to do with you because I'm done beating your fat, ugly ass. I want better competition. I deserve better competition. And after I beat you tonight, that's exactly what I'm going to get. See you soon, bitch. Go ahead.
First minute 50, get rid of it. Now I'm gonna say, this is why I'm going to say this. And this is just the fact of the matter, is a lot of people think long promos are better promos. That's not true. A good promo has emotion. It draws you into it. It makes you want to listen to what the guy is saying. And it tells bits and pieces of the story that you're trying to tell within the match that you're going to have. Right?
Mm-hmm.
From a minute 50 till about the last 20 seconds, get rid of that last 20 seconds and the first minute and 50, and you keep that center point. You had a little bit of emotion. You didn't talk in circles. You didn't repeat yourself. So that was good.
Yeah.
A good promo, you don't have to sit there and repeat yourself over and over and over and over again. And the longer that people draw out promos, they just end up repeating themselves, especially if they're not quick on their feet. Like if you take if you take a look at like old school, like super old school promos from like the late 80s, early 90s, the ones with like Macho Man and Hogan and Flair and Ultimate Warrior and a bunch of other people, Jake the Snake, all of those promos were a minute and a half, nothing longer than that.
Here's another one I did. I think this was a good one. I think this was a good. I don't remember if this was or not. So
350. Oh man, you better be able to keep my. I'm gonna have to bounce out if you don't keep my entrance.
So Cody Webb, you accepted my open challenge. of all the people in CPW, Justin Klein, John Walton, Brett Lipke, Matt Minnick, Brian Cornari, whoever, you were the one to accept my open challenge. Well, I hope you know that accepting my open challenge means you've accepted your fate. So, let's talk about your fate, Cody Webb, outlaw. And quite frankly, I don't care what you call yourself. You can call yourself the ally, you can call yourself the in-law, the overlaw, the interlaw. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about your fate. Your fate is going down in defeat to me, Cybermania. You see, we haven't exactly been on hot streaks when it comes to promo wrestling. God knows I lost so many fights, and you've been losing a lot of fights yourself. So this fight is redemption time for one of us. And I promise you, Cody Webb, I promise you, man, I'm getting redemption tonight by beating you.
I'm so sorry.
I think I might have to start doing some reaction videos to your old promo. Get that trash off the screen.
So, you want to hear a good one?
Here's your constructive criticism. Stay out of promo wrestling.
So, you want to hear something funny as hell? So, I don't know if you know this guy, Brian Carr. He and I one time developed this feud. And when I say developed, I mean we actually got into each other's DMs and we discussed. He's like, hey, how would you feel about doing a feud with me? And to you and me, it's all good in the hood. Mm-hmm. But to everybody else, it looks legit. Right? Like we're gonna say some hurtful things to one another. Okay? Yeah. Hurtful things. I'm like, okay. He goes, yeah, and everything that we say to each other, we agree upon in advance. That's the important part that you got to remember about this specific statement. He agreed to what I was going to say. He was like, go right ahead and say it. So one time he and I are going back and forth in the comments, and I go, oh, yeah? Well, your dead mother was a whore, and your dead brother was her pimp. Mm. Again, you got to remember.
Right.
He okayed that.
Right.
I'm like, hey, is it cool if I say this? And he goes, oh, that's perfect. People will go off on you. Go it. Say it. Right? I said it, and I guess he had people messaging him like, yo, what we doing? We gonna fly out to Colorado, kick his ass? We gotta whoop his ass. Like it got that kind of like it got to a point where Brian had to tell people like, hey. But he had to tell like 2 or 3 different people, hey. He asked me if he could say that. I said, yeah, it's all good.
Right.
Like, no beef, you know.
Right.
Don't make it, don't let it be known that you know. Go at him in the comments. He's okay with that.
Right.
But I was okay with that comment, so we're not flying nowhere.
Yeah.
And then eventually that feud actually ended up with us becoming the tag team champions at one point. So, I mean, it was a really good storyline. I said that. And like I said, we'll get off the EFED thing in a minute. We'll talk about pro wrestling here. I know you got to get off soon probably, but...
I'm good. I got a little while left.
Okay. But one thing, I remember I did something kind of screwed up, and this wasn't accepted or anything like that. I got completely... blacklisted for a couple of weeks because of what I did. I made one dude look like a pedophile, basically. And it was a big no-no. I regret doing that. And he eventually wound up forgiving me, and we're not friends by any means, but there's no beef between us anymore. But the week that I did that, my oldest nephew was born. So you talk about karma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyway, let's just talk about some good old. Are you keeping up with the current product of WWE?
For the most part, yeah, a little bit, yeah. I watch. I don't watch the actual shows in full, like, but I watch the clips and stuff like that they
Mm-hmm.
post on YouTube. I watch the matches that they post on YouTube, and anytime anybody wants me to see anything, I'll watch it then. But
Mm-hmm.
you know,
When
a lot of the stuff I do now, like I watch a lot of the local indies that are here in the Midwest. You know, Missouri, Illinois,
yeah,
Tennessee area, stuff like that. I try to watch a lot of that stuff like that because that's where I'm at.
uh-huh.
You know, so trying to keep up with what's going on in this little pocket of the world pertaining to wrestling, and then I watch a bunch of other stuff. But like, I think I made a post a couple weeks ago on Facebook about I think it was like 4 or 5 different companies that I pay attention to that because I see them post a lot. Because I told you I'm a YouTube guy, you know. So like
Right.
I don't have TV. I don't have cable TV. I don't even have a TV. I have computer screens, you know. So like if I'm
Right.
watching something, I'm watching something on YouTube. So it the more people post, the more I see of you, you know. So
So you don't. So you're not watching stuff like Cobra Kai or, uh, you're not watching like streaming.
I have watched Cobra. I do have Netflix because
Okay.
I can get Netflix on my computer. You
There
know,
is a
so
documentary on Netflix. There is a
but
documentary on Netflix.
I wouldn't say that I watch a lot of Netflix. I'm mainly just a YouTube person.
If you get a chance, you should watch this documentary on Netflix called "The Greatest Night in Pop," and it's about the making of that song "We Are the World"
Okay.
from 1985.
I think I've seen that pop up on the feed.
I've
Like
watched that.
what was it? What's that show? I took a couple hours off about a week or two ago. It was probably last week sometime maybe, and I was watching the Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
You know, because I'd watched Cobra Kai the night that it dropped.
Right. As did I. Or I
Yeah,
watched it that morning when it dropped. But
yeah. I watched the night that it dropped, and then I watched because there was only like 4 episodes of it, I believe, something like that.
I think there were like 5 or 6. But
Yeah,
yeah,
4 or 5 episodes.
because they're doing this season in like parts.
Yeah. You know, and when you don't have a whole crap ton of like episodes, like I like shows that have 4 or 5 episodes at a time because then I can watch them all in one whack if I want to.
Right.
You know, if I want to take a night off or whatever from what I'm doing, because I do a lot of stuff. You know,
Mm-hmm.
on top of my YouTube channel, on top of the wrestling stuff, on top of going to wrestling shows, I help produce a wrestling show. Like I run the cameras and productions. I just started doing it, so I'm putting together all their promo stuff on their YouTube channel and stuff like that. I just started recently doing that, and then I do my interview series that I do. Plus, I do like buying and selling collectibles and toys and stuff like that. So I do a lot of stuff. So being able to watch a bunch of stuff all at one time, is the best thing for me because then like I can watch all 4 or 5 episodes
Right.
in 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it takes, and I'm super good, and I'm good because then like I don't have to take an entire fucking weekend off just to watch it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So getting back into wrestling here, where do you stand on the Cody Rhodes hate? I don't know if you're well aware, but since Cody has won the championship at WrestleMania, a lot of people, excuse me, hiccup. A lot of people have been saying things
That's from the
like,
soda.
"I'm sorry."
That's
Yeah,
from
it
the
probably is
soda.
from the soda.
That's from the soda.
But a lot of people have been saying like his championship reign is boring. He's only defending against his friends because last week on SmackDown, Kevin he wanted to face Kevin Owens for the title. Kevin's like, wait, what? No, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. And he goes, maybe I'll just go to Roman Reigns. Well, I know Roman don't deserve it either. Hang on. What do you mean, Roman? Go in the locker room. There's a bunch of guys back there that deserve it more than Roman.
Well, I mean, if anybody deserves it, it's Roman, because Roman hasn't had a rematch yet.
Right. Makes sense. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense that Kevin Owens is getting the title shot other than he's Cody's buddy. I mean, that's basically it. Mm-hmm. I get that hate, but at the same time, it's like, look, they're padding up Cody's resume as champion. That's all this is. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to if they turn Kevin Owens heel, that's an added bonus to that, right?
Yeah. Possibly, yeah.
They might be turning Randy Orton heel soon too. So Kevin Owens and Randy Orton as a heel tag team would be great going against Cody Rhodes, his former friends. And then on Raw this past week, you had Liv Morgan. You had a promo with Rhea Ripley, Dominic, and Liv. Not sure if you saw any of this, but Rhea goes. Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rhea. Yeah. For those of you who didn't see it, Rhea tells Dominic, "You stabbed me in the back, but I'm sure you've heard this quite a few times. It wasn't deep enough." Mm-hmm. And that's just like, wow, we went there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I know they're going to Netflix in 2025, but they're still on the USA Network. I mean,
yeah.
To say to make that kind of comment, wow.
What was your question about Cody Rhodes, though?
You know what? I'm sorry, I completely got off track.
Yeah.
Well, my question was, what do you make of the hate he's receiving?
What I think of that is essentially the same. It's the same thing that I felt that when Roman was getting all the hate. Mm-hmm. For some reason, and I don't know why it's this way in the wrestling fandom, and you can take all of wrestling fandom, not just WWE in particular, but for some strange reason, especially over the last decade, wrestling fans have wanted wrestling championships to be boom, 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 boom. Meaning they don't like long championships, even though deep down they actually do like them. They say they don't like them. I think what it is, I think wrestling fans just like to bitch. Mm-hmm. And that's not knocking wrestling fans, because I'm a wrestling fan. That's just telling the honest to God's truth of it, because if you take into consideration, you have how many guys in the WWE currently are sitting at 14 and 15-time heavyweight champion?
Quite a few. Hang on just a second. Frank, are you there? Frank? Nope, not there. Okay. He said he was coming through. I thought he would, but
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, it's all right. And it's one of those things. It's just like there's probably 7 guys on the roster currently that are pushing 13, 14, 15-time heavyweight champions.
Yeah.
And you have them literally changing champions on a dime, and I think
they haven't done that lately in WWE, but
not since Roman took the belt. But pre-Roman having the belts changed
yeah.
Like people change their underwear. They would be champion for a month or two, and then they change them. And then it would be the same thing. It would be the same thing. It's the same thing. So the months leading up to Cody getting the belt at WrestleMania, it was Cody Rhodes or nothing. We're gonna riot. We're gonna tear down the system because Cody Rhodes can't be champion, and you promised it. And then as soon as Cody Rhodes became champion, literally within 2 weeks, people were like, I'm tired of Cody Rhodes being champion. He's
I'm
so
done.
smart.
I'm done with it. Yeah.
I'm done with it. And it's just like,
You wanted this.
but
And
like
now you're
2 weeks ago, like literally 2 weeks ago, you were like, screw The Rock, screw everybody else, screw Roman. Now I want Cody. And then when Roman lost, everybody was like, oh, Roman shouldn't have lost. And it was just like, what do you want? Like, if anything, if anybody sees this and you're in the wrestling fandom, what do you really want? Because you're not very clear. 1 minute you want Roman as champion, 1 minute you want Cody as champion, 1 minute you want somebody else as champion. Here's the logic, friends. Not everybody can be champion all at one time.
There you go, right there, straight from Jaysin Static. You can't. Not everybody can be a champ all the time. I think, Frank, what's up?
Yeah, that's the harsh reality of wrestling. Is not
Frank,
everybody
don't
can
do
be a
that. What are
champion
you
at one time.
doing? He turned his thing on. He moved his thing up. Trying to get Frank in here. Sorry, folks.
It's all right. It's all right. It happens.
What happened?
Bad connections. We get
Why
it.
did he move his camera up?
Not everybody can have. Not everybody can have these supreme connections like me and you do, CJ.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but my computer's been kind of glitchy a little bit, but just a little bit.
You see,
You might be getting a hat on or whatever.
I live out in the country on 40 acres, and I'm supreme right here, baby. Supreme.
So, I have like 2 different kinds of Wi-Fi in my house.
Okay.
So you'd think I'd be pretty good, but sometimes the Wi-Fi gets a little.
Yeah. If you have a lot of people on,
I'm good right now.
Wi-Fi all at one time, it can happen.
I think. Well, yeah, because I think we all use the Wi-Fi at the same time. Like my parents use their phones. I use my computer.
Right. Yeah. That happens.
It does. Yeah. Anything else you want to discuss, or you think you're good to go?
I mean, you brought me on to ask me questions about wrestling.
Well, how much time you got left here?
We can go as long as you want. I work for myself. I can make my own schedules. I can push things back.
That is a good point. Are you playing WWE 2K24?
Nah, man. I don't have time for video games.
You don't have time for video games. You don't even have time to watch TV. I forgot, man. You're missing some pretty good shows. You're missing
most of the time. What I do when I listen to or watch stuff, I put it on in the background while I'm working.
There you go. So I'm sure you're listening to podcasts. Aside from this podcast, who else are you listening to?
Something that I think I just shared it this morning. I really like that series that Cody's doing.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
I think Frank is about to join us here. I think.
I'm a little behind. I'm a little behind on that one.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
I'm a little behind on the Cody one. I like that one. I watched the one with Orton today because Orton's a hometown guy. I'm from the Missouri area.
Right.
I trained in St. Louis. I trained at the place where Randy Orton started his career at. So anything that I can
follow OVW?
Huh?
Do you follow OVW?
Yeah. I actually a good buddy of mine, Brandon Espinoza, is actually one of the talents on OVW.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I know that there's a kid on there, Cal Hero, and I remember watching this. It wasn't a podcast, but they called themselves the Pro Wrestling Report, and it was Damian Nelson and David Hero, and they were bringing a couple other guys every now and again, but it was mainly Damian Nelson and David Hero, and they would just discuss the things going on in wrestling from WWE, TNA, AEW when they started. They're not really around anymore, unfortunately.
I listen to Rogan. I listen to a podcast called the Lex Friedman Podcast. because I really like him. Super smart dude, and he gets in there and he talks about psychology and AI and all kinds of crazy things that I don't know anything about, but I find it interesting. So I listen to a lot of stuff that that I hope makes me smarter in a way. But as for like wrestling podcasts,
Yeah.
like I listen to Chris Van Vliet.
Okay, I like him.
I listen to a guy on YouTube named Wrestling Days. He doesn't really have a podcast, but he does a lot of like segments where he talks about wrestling and stuff like that. I listen to him, and then I listen to Conan and Disco. I really like Conan and Disco. I think they're one of the more well-rounded wrestling podcasts where they watch all the shows and then they give their honest opinions about it, and they actually do constructive criticism the way that constructive criticism should be done. Instead, because I'm not one of those guys that like I don't like the podcast that just shit on wrestling for the sake of shitting on wrestling.
So
you know what I mean? There's a lot of that stuff out there already, and I just don't like it. I can't take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's a. So I listened to. Hang on, I'll pull this up real quick. I have the podcast. So I listened to The Lapsed Fan.
Okay.
I listened to Jim Cornette. I listened to Chris Van Vliet as well. I listened to Off Duty and NCIS Rewatch. Because I like NCIS and I like to.
Yeah.
So I listen to podcasts.
Swoggle. I listen to Swoggle's podcast. I listen to Swoggle.
Has a podcast?
Yeah, Hornswoggle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I listened to. I think I said this, but I listened to Cornette. I listened to Bruce Pritchard. And there's another one that I watched, Dark Side of the Ring Unheard. It's that I don't know if you've ever seen that show, Dark Side of the Ring, but it's like them in like podcast form pretty much, and they talk about making the episodes.
I've seen the first 2 episodes, and I haven't watched an episode since. I'm not one of those, like, I used to be one of those guys that liked all those stories, but then when you really look into it, like I grew up in the 90s, like the 80s and the 90s. That's when I started watching wrestling. You know, in the late 80s, early 90s is when I started watching. And then watching all of those Dark Side of the Ring episodes, the handful that I did see, and then seeing clips throughout social media and stuff, people talking about them.
Yeah.
It really
I apologize, by the way, if I interrupted when I said come on. I had to switch my Wi-Fi because the other one was just cutting in and out. So
it's all right.
Anyway, continue.
And those things, just watching those things, it hurts. It hurts me watching those because those guys were out there doing that shit for me as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And to know that while I was watching them, they were going through all of that bullshit for me. It made me not want to see that shit because it made the reality of what I was actually watching. You know what I mean?
Who are you talking about? I'm sorry, my internet cut out. Who you were talking about?
We were talking about the Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was asking what episodes you were talking about. Benoit.
I just watched the first 2 episodes.
Okay. Oh, I got you.
And I haven't watched an episode since. I've seen bits and pieces of other episode, and I've seen people talk about it.
So you saw the one with Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth, and then the Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
If those were the first 2, yeah. If those were the first 2 episodes, those are the ones that I've seen.
I think I've watched pretty much all of them, with the exception of like 2 or 3, maybe.
Yeah.
I really liked the New Jack episode, and I really liked the David Schultz one as well. Those were great. I recommend you watch those if you get a chance because those are fantastic. But it doesn't look like Frankie's going to join us.
What was it that you like? you're a wrestling fan, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the other side of the thing. But I'm a wrestling fan too. What is it about? Yeah, and this is just a little insight for me to gain more knowledge from you as a wrestling fan.
Okay.
You know, as somebody who's grown up on wrestling, who's watched it for most of his life and everything like that, and is a big fan of wrestling. What is it about wrestling that you care about?
I like the storylines. Look, I'm 31 years old. I
Okay.
understand that pro wrestling is scripted and I'm not going to say fake. That's an ugly word. I do not use fake when I talk about pro wrestling. Okay.
Right.
But for me, I love the storytelling. Like I said, I'm 31. I still get sucked in to the
Yeah.
stories, you know, and it makes me feel like a little kid again, getting to watch those stories, like the Cody Rhodes thing. I was sucked into that. I wanted to watch Cody win the world championship. I'm gonna be honest. At WrestleMania 39, when Cody lost, I was pissed. I was. It was like a knife to the gut. It really freaking was, bro. And then at WrestleMania 40, I watched Cody win. I almost started crying. You know, that night I may have actually no, I did. I had a couple of drinks before. No, wait. I had a couple of drinks while watching WrestleMania because I remember we were celebrating my sister's birthday that day. We went to her house. And I remember I asked her husband, I'm like, hey, man, WrestleMania is tonight. Cool if we watch it at your house. He goes, I don't care. It's like, go right ahead. So I turned it on. My dad came over a little because I went over there first. I was a little early to her house.
Right.
She lives in my neighborhood, so I just walked over there.
Okay.
My parents were at a store, so they were going to meet us there at her house. We go to her house. Me and my dad are drinking beers, and we took the party home, and we watched WrestleMania. We finished the show at home.
Okay.
And when I watched Cody win the title, if it wasn't for the booze, I probably would have cried.
Right.
But so I deviated from your question. I apologize. You asked me what I just love the story.
The story.
I love the story of it all. I love watching the good guy overcome all the odds and just boom, get that big victory.
Right.
Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm. I actually have history with him.
Okay. I love Sami Zayn. That storyline he did with the Bloodline, Chef's Kiss. It was beautiful. It was fantastic. Great storytelling. Great stuff.
What don't you like about pro wrestling?
I don't like the fans. Like, hang on. Let me rephrase. I don't like the fans that say, you should just enjoy all wrestling. Be happy. We have so many choices. It's like, look. And if you can understand what I'm saying, I was mocking the people that say, "Be happy, we have choices." I'm glad that there's AEW. I'm glad that there's WWE, and I want to address this here because I made a post talking about this, and somebody goes, "You're not happy that AEW exists. Just admit it. You don't like AEW. You're not happy about it."
I've seen the post. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah,
I see the post. That's why I brought it up.
So, I am happy that AEW exists just because I don't watch it,
right?
Or talk about it. That doesn't mean I'm not happy that it exists. I like that exists. But my thing is, when fans say you should enjoy all wrestling, it's like, to me, if you really enjoy one company, that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Tribalism, this is going to be a controversial take. Tribalism is not always a negative thing. And people like to turn that into negative things. And they like to make you out to be the bad guy. And that doesn't just go for pro wrestling. That goes for all sorts of things. Be it politics, be it music, be it TV, be it movies. It's like, if you don't agree with somebody, and I've talked about this a lot, but if you don't agree with somebody, they make you out to be the bad guy somehow. And there is no way for them to be like, and for me, whenever I have a disagreement with somebody, I always like to say, look, we don't agree on this. That's okay. agree to disagree, right? My parents, for example, I'm a huge Eminem fan. They don't like him that much anymore. Okay? Agree to disagree on that. We
Right.
agree to disagree. That's fine. That's cool. They don't like rap music these days. Again, agree to disagree. Cool. Move on. I'm gonna go listen to it in my room. You don't have to listen to it. I'm gonna go enjoy it. Cool.
Okay.
And you can enjoy your music. Whatever. Same with pro wrestling. My mom's not a fan of wrestling. Okay, no problem. My dad's not the biggest fan anymore, but he'll sit down and watch like a big four show with me, like WrestleMania, Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam. And actually, they're coming here to Denver on September 2nd, and I got tickets to that.
Okay.
My mom got me tickets to that. So shout out to my mom. See, even though she doesn't like it, she knows I do, and she's gonna help me, support that.
Yeah.
So I don't like the whole thing of. I don't like the fans that say you should just enjoy wrestling. No, I shouldn't. I should enjoy what I want to enjoy. You should enjoy what you want to enjoy. If you want to enjoy all wrestling, please, by all means. But me, I'm mostly a WWE guy, and that's fine. And there are acts on AEW that I do enjoy. I do enjoy seeing John Moxley. I love that guy. I love seeing Eddie Kingston. I love seeing Britt Baker. I love seeing Mercedes Moné. Matter of fact, on the Britt Baker thing, I'll let you talk in a minute. I am a huge women's wrestling fan. I love women's wrestling. If you go onto my private YouTube channel, that's not this one, I have a private one. I have a whole bunch of videos of women's wrestling. I have, I'll tell you how many videos I have. One of my videos, I have almost 150 women's wrestling videos. Strictly women's wrestling. That's all it is. From WWE, from like England. I have a couple from Japan, I think. I have a couple from Japan. I have a couple from Canada. So, I mean, look, I do enjoy all wrestling, but I enjoy a specific kind of wrestling.
Right.
Go ahead. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
What I'm going to ask you now is, it's almost like I'm doing an interview with you, which is fine. It's kind of my wheelhouse.
It works.
It's kind of my wheelhouse, but because this is the type of stuff that I'm interested as a guy who does the wrestling thing.
I want to get fan input.
Yeah, one of my go-to guys. His name's Tyler.
Okay.
And he's been a fan of professional wrestling for all of his life. He's been a fan of mine since I started wrestling, since the first day that he's seen me. And we've been friends ever since. And he's like my go-to guy that whenever I have a question that I want a fan's input on, he's my go-to guy that I go to.
Right.
From a fan perspective. And he's one of the guys that he likes a lot of different stuff. He's not just a WWE guy. He goes to a lot of the indie shows around here. He actually gets to help out on a couple of the indie shows and stuff like that, which is cool. You know, he runs camera. He helps runs guys' tables and stuff like that, which is a good thing. You know, and so I'm super interested in what wrestling fans think. You know, because it helps me do stuff. It helps me, like I have a wrestling, like my YouTube channel for Fight Club Wrestling Academy. I can actually screen share it to you here in a couple of minutes if you want me to.
Sure.
And what I particularly do with this, I have a pro wrestling shoot interview series where I go around the Midwest and I talk to indie wrestlers about professional wrestling as a business, as an art, and I have a series of questions that I ask these guys. And it gets their input about how they feel, what they feel about what they feel about the industry as a whole, whether it be the industry or the fandom of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And so
I don't want to come off as insulting the fans when I say I don't like that tribal thing. It's just,
you know, and I agree with you on a point where I agree that you as a person, as a fan, should be able to like what you want to like.
Right.
The only
And not be vilified.
the only disconnect that I don't like, and I see it from all sides and all angles, is I don't like the nastiness
Yeah.
between the camps. You know, because there's great things about WWE. There's great things about there's great things about AEW,
And I
TNA,
agree with that.
independent wrestling, Japan, Mexico, England, Canada. Hell, there's even some super cool stuff coming out of like China and a bunch of, Germany. There's so many cool things about wrestling. And I understand as a kid who grew up on NWA and WCW, I didn't watch WWE until after WWE bought WCW.
Wow.
Like, I'd seen things, but I never watched it on TV. Like, my uncle, he had videotapes of WWE. I seen WWE and WWF in the magazines because I was also a magazine
You
kid.
probably saw them on shelves.
So I watched them when I'd buy stuff from the videos, rent stuff from the video stores.
Yeah.
I've seen them in the magazine, so I knew about it. I knew all the characters and everything, but I never actually sat down and watched Monday Night Raw until after. So
Boy, you kind of just dated yourself when I rented them from the video store.
yeah. So I come up in that era. I came up in the VHS era of WWE, WWF, Coliseum home videos. But as a kid who, anytime I would go to a department store or anything like that, and we'd walk past that magazine rack at the grocery store or anything, and I seen a wrestling magazine, I was like, Mom, can I get a wrestling magazine? And she'd be like, okay, well, how much is it? Okay, we can afford it this month. So what happened to me is, although I was a WCW kid, and this is like late 80s, early 90s WCW, before the Nitro era.
Right. Okay.
So it was Turner, Turner TV and stuff like that. This is back when they only had Saturday morning and Sunday night wrestling from WCW. This is before Nitro even happened. I was watching WCW stuff, because they were on public TV.
I had,
hold on. So reading these magazines, wrestling magazines in the 80s and early 90s, I learned about guys like the Great Muta. I learned about guys like Psychosis and Rey Mysterio and Conan and all of these guys. So when these guys started popping up into WCW in the early 90s, I was like, oh, holy shit, I know this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen him in the magazine, and now I actually get to see him wrestle. So I'm one of those guys that I grew up on a wide variety of wrestling. I didn't grow up on just one guy because I was a magazine kid overall. Like, I read all the wrestling magazines from cover to cover.
Yeah. That's how it kind of is for me with the women's wrestling, where I watch a bunch of women's wrestling on YouTube. I remember when Madison Rain debuted in TNA, and I was like, you know what, she's kind of cute. I want to look her up. I want to see if she has more matches. She went by Ashley Lane on the Independents, and I looked her up.
Yeah.
She wrestled for Shimmer, and then Jessie McKay, aka Billy Kay. She wrestled in Shimmer as well for a while.
Yeah.
And then she made it to WWE eventually. Madison Rain or Ashley Lane made it to TNA. So it's really cool to watch. Becky Lynch, she was Rebecca Knox on the Indies.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks was Mercedes KV. I'm trying to think of.
So I learned something new about you. You actually do follow a lot more wrestling than WWE.
Yeah. Mariah May. I remember watching her on the Indies in the UK.
What do you think of Jordynne Grace and the knockouts thing over in TNA? I think those women over in TNA, those girls kill it.
See, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be completely 100% honest. Jordynne Grace, not exactly my cup of tea. So I'm with women's wrestling. I'm very specific about the kind that I like, where I like it where it's the good guy versus the bad guy. The bad guy dominates the good guy for much of the match, for
Mhm.
much of it. And I'm not a real big fan of the back and forth stuff. If
Okay.
I'm being completely honest, like I don't like that. I like where the good guy has to fight from underneath.
What if
Uh,
you have a good guy and a good guy, or a bad guy and a bad guy facing off with each other?
Bad guy and bad guy is weird because you don't really cheer anybody at that point. It's like,
Yeah.
good guy. Sometimes it's okay, but I don't really care for those kinds of matches. That goes for dudes as well, by the way.
Right.
I don't care for the handshake in the beginning or at the end or the hug. I
Yeah.
don't care for that. That's not what wrestling is to me.
Right.
Wrestling to me is two guys that want to be the better man and they'll beat each other up. And if you
Right.
want to hug and kiss and shake hands and all that stuff, say that for the backstage part. That's just me. But Tessa Blanchard, she's one I enjoy. I
Yeah.
remember Indy
Oh.
Hartwell on the
Yeah.
Indy Hartwell.
You ever watched anything from Miranda Gordy?
Yeah, she's good.
Yeah,
I like
Miranda
Miranda
Gordy's good
Gordy.
too.
Melanie Cruz, I think, is extremely underrated. Uh, um, if we're going over to Europe, Mila Smith is somebody I'm watching a lot of. I
Uh-huh.
love Sky Blue, but I'm
Do,
gonna
do
be
you,
real. Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say I love Sky Blue. I do love her, but her as a heel is just. It's kind of like Roxy, or it's kind of like Roxanne. She went by Roxy on the Indies,
Right,
but it's
right.
like her and like Sky Blue and Roxy are more baby faces and heels, and that's how I
Okay.
see. What up, Frank? Oh, okay. You don't want to be on camera, I guess.
do you watch do you watch or go to a lot of indie shows?
No, I don't. I'm gonna be real. I'm not. I haven't been. I've only been to one independent wrestling show in my whole life, and that was uh, back in 2007.
Okay.
And I remember that because I got to go. So this is. I think I've told this story on this channel, so I'll try to keep it brief. But watched me and my dad went to a place called Red and Jerry's. We watched a pay-per-view there called No Way Out. This was '07. The main
Mhm.
event was John Cena, Batista. Or no, it was John the main event was John Cena and Shawn Michaels versus Batista and The Undertaker. And while we were at Red and Jerry's, they had like a wrestler there.
Uh-huh.
Just to keep the fans in the place happy, right? And his name it was Doink the Clown.
Mhm.
So I go up to Doink the Clown because it's like a whole bag of goodies. And so I'm like, hey, Doink, you got anything in there for me? Right? And he goes, I'll see what I can scrounge up for you, little man. So I'm like, okay.
Mm.
So I go sit back down and I'm waiting for him to come to me. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. He's not coming over. Show is over. It's like, you ready to go home? I'm like, well, I didn't get anything from Doink yet. And he goes, oh. So he's like, go ask him one more time if he has anything for you. But we're not waiting here all night because you got school tomorrow. Because I was only 14.
Mm.
I'm like, okay. Next day, or not next day, but I go up to Doink and I'm like, hey, Doink, is there anything in the back for me? I've been waiting. And he's like, oh, I completely forgot, young man. I'm sorry. All I have left in the bag is this. And he pulls out like a ticket to a independent wrestling show. It was like 3 tickets. It was Rocky Mountain Championship Wrestling.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was my dad, myself, and my grandpa. We all went. And at that event, I remember I actually went up close to the ring. They had like a rope to block it off.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I go up there and like, hey, can I get a picture right here? And the car just shoved me, right? Like shoved me. And I remember being so offended and upset. Now the guy was just doing his job, but 14-year-old me couldn't comprehend that. Whatever. I'm like, Dad, the guy pushed me. Dad's like, it's okay, kid. Like, it's okay, buddy. Just stay right here, bud. Right? And the guy in front of me, he's like, who shoved you? I'm like, the security guard up there did. And he goes, "Well, that's messed up." He goes, "I'll tell you what. There's something you want. You ask me, and I'll get it for you." And so, bing, light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, "Anything? Yeah. What do you want? Can you give me a large T-shirt and some M&Ms?" He goes, "Oh yeah, sure, kid. Be right back." He comes back with the T-shirt, and it was signed by like the wrestlers. He comes back with the T-shirt and the M&Ms. He's like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Wow, thank you very much. That was really cool." So shout out to him if he somehow sees this video at all, because I never forgot that. And then I got to watch a blind dude wrestle that night, which is really, really cool. Until a couple weeks ago, I went to a bar with my mom for her friend's birthday, and somebody was also there. And he was telling me that he did like security work for Rocky Mountain Championship Wrestling, because he was talking about the blind guy. I'm like, so is he really blind? I don't know why I asked the question. I was just curious. And he goes, nope, they're not really blind. So it kind of ruined that for me. But I kind of did that to myself. But
Right.
yeah, so
It's still real to you, damn it.
I know. But it was funny because like he was wrestling, the blind dude was wrestling, and the crowd would just start chanting, "Hey, blind Mike, over here! Blind Mike, over here! Hey, blind Mike, over here!" You know.
Yeah.
To distract him because he was like the heel. Which, now that I think about it, a blind dude as a heel is kind of ironic, but
That's kind of funny.
Anyway, man, Jaysin, I want to say thank you for joining us on this interview, brother.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Hey, appreciate you. We'll definitely have you back on in the future. If you're new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, share this with all your friends, do all of that. Jay, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me at Jaysin Static across all social media, Facebook, YouTube.
There's his YouTube right there.
Right there. Check out Fight Club Wrestling Academy. As you can see, we got the Pro Wrestling Shoot Series. A lot of upcoming guys. There's a lot of cool dudes in there. There's a lot of old guys in there, you know, that work the indies. A lot of journeyman wrestlers and stuff like that. Eventually down the road, there's going to be some workout vlogs from me. This is the place where you can find me at. Check me out on Fight Club Wrestling Academy on YouTube. That's where you can find me at. That's where you can talk to me at. You can talk to me on there. You can talk to the wrestlers on there. You can ask questions about it. Sometimes they're in the chat. Sometimes they're not. So find me on there. Also, check out weare138co.com. That's the website where you can get the Jaysin Static merch like this, Jaysin Static t-shirts. You can find the Fight Club Wrestling Academy merch and shit like that. You know, yeah, just go run that place up. Go run that place up, man. Looks like we're up to 103 subs now. I started it 20 weeks ago. We dropped 2 videos every single week with independent pro wrestlers across the Midwest. Eventually down the road, I'm going to be going out to places like Tennessee and Florida and Pennsylvania and a handful of other places to get people.
And if you don't know how to do the subscription thing, folks, let me show you how quickly and easy it is, how quick and easy it is to do this. Ready? We're going to go like this. So you see it right here, right? See this button?
Mm-hmm.
I have this button on my channel too. Everybody should hit it. Boom, subscribed. And
make sure you hit that notification bell too.
Boom.
Yeah. And then if you see right there, Christian, where it says 2 more links. If you click on that, where it says 2 more links, right above the sub button, right there. There's all my other places where you can find me at.
There you go, folks. Till next time, I'm CJ. He's Jaysin. We out.